some symbol the entrepreneur creates that stand out in our mind, like Mrs. Field's cookies, Walt's mouse, Jonas Salk's vaccine, Ray Kroc's golden arches, and Forrest Mars' M&Ms, with the M's printed on each one of their M&Ms. It's nearly everything that we have today has come from the mind of entrepreneurial thinkers. Let's explore together some of these fantastic individuals, how it can help you and me to also do entrepreneurial thinking. Thomas Edison, that we've just been talking about, as most of you know, founded the Edison Electric Company that became General Electric. He founded a motion picture company. He founded a phonograph. He even had a company that manufactured baby furniture, which most people don't know about Thomas Edison. He had a quote that I want all of you that desire to be entrepreneurs to become more effective entrepreneurs. Probably the most powerful quote really in entrepreneurial literature. Thomas Edison said, "I try not to invent things that people don't need." You know, that doesn't sound like a lot, but I'll tell you that what happens so many people when they fail in entrepreneuring is because they create things that nobody really needs, nor can they create a need for these things. Henry Ford, by the way, one of the friends of Thomas Edison, said, "I make cars so that everyone can afford to buy one." That entrepreneurial thought, of course, revolutionized manufacturing. It introduced the modern assembly line. And Bucky Fuller, whom I've had the privilege of working with on a number of projects, said one of the most provocative things about entrepreneuring. He said, "The more sense I make, the more money I make." As we'll talk about as we go along, really one of the keys to entrepreneurial thinking is to make sense. Because if you don't make sense, nobody buys. Jack Welch, my friend that I've worked with and chairman of General Electric, Jack Welch says if you want to accomplish anything, cut the bureaucracy. And we'll talk a little bit later about that. Walt Disney, who I had the opportunity to work for 10 years. Walt Disney was an entrepreneur in many fields, but certainly in entertainment like nobody else. And I'll talk to you a little bit about Walt. Walt Disney said, "Do anything better than it was ever done before, and you'll get rich." And that we've seen over and over and over. So why is entrepreneurial thinking so big today? One of the reasons is that we're seeking security. I really think that security is driving us to a new paradigm. Downsizing going on within companies, and the people that are in companies wanting to really do original thinking and wanting to really understand this great shift in values. But I'll tell you, more important than even that is the whole new concepts of leadership and management, which today an entrepreneur really has to be cognizant of as they work within any small or large business, or as you create a business. Another thing that today that is different in probably earlier times, even 20 years ago, is to be effective today, you have to be able to do global and international thinking. You have to also understand that there's a lot of anxiousness among people. I was talking to a group of college students recently and some senior managements of a major company, and they were talking about when they get out of school, what are they going to do? I was talking to some people that were just getting their MBAs, and they were saying, what are we going to do? And that's why those of us that have careers and have jobs right now, we're really lucky. And that's why to improve yourself more and more and more means to embrace entrepreneurial thinking, because that's the drift that we're going, and it's the major thrust. I said to this group of college students, think about Walt Disney. When we now think about Walt Disney, we think of a full-grown empire. But think about what Walt Disney did. I've heard him tell this story so many times. Here was Walt Disney, and if he were here talking to you like I am, he would tell you that he was just an average artist, that he was not really a good artist. He would tell you also that he was somewhat shy, he was somewhat introverted, but Walt Disney had this entrepreneurial thinking in his veins. So look what he did that many of you are familiar with, that many of you have grown to love. He took a really lousy business, an amusement park. When Walt got a hold of an amusement park, his brother Roy didn't want anything to do. He didn't want the Disney name on an amusement park. It was absolutely horrifying.